Possum Patty here from Pennsylvania, answering the question, when did you get started in nature journaling? It all started in the around 2005, 2006, when I got a copy of Claire Walker Leslie's book, Keeping a Nature Journal. So I read the book and I was very inspired. And I had a small notebook just with a cardboard cover and thin sketch pages in it. I don't know where I got it, probably in a clearance bin for 99 cents or something. And I started journaling. I called it my nature notebook. And on the very first page of the very first journal, I have a very simple picture of an acorn. I looked up some facts about acorn and what the parts are called, and I wrote it down. So this is my very first page in my very first journal. So now I'm just going to quickly flip through the journal and show you what I did. I think I journaled in this, not very often, but between 2006, I think, and 2007. Here I'm on a hike with a professor from Kutztown University, and we're up at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary. And I was just taking notes of the plants that we saw on the walk. I did a simple little sketch of some shapes of a leaf, more notes. This is a wildflower walk around my yard. I take a lot of those if I can't go anywhere else. And I made some simple notes, and then I actually brought this piece of a plant into the house and sketched it sitting at the desk. This is another specimen from the yard. Took some notes on it, piece of goldenrod. Some more flowers from the yard. As you can see, it's very thin, very cheap paper, and the ink goes right through. So I couldn't use the back of the page there. Here's some butter and eggs, very simple. Couple of notes. White cockle flowers, again from the yard. So I was walking around the yard, picking up flowers, wildflowers, bringing them into the house, doing a little sketch of them with pencil and colored pencil, and looking them up and writing some notes about them. This was a very interesting plant that I found in the yard. It's called a burr cucumber, or a one seed. And I did a very detailed sketch. A friend of mine laughed and asked me if I did that with a magnifying glass of the little veins in the leaf. And I like the long tendrils on this plant. It grows like a vine. Some more notes on a walk around. Here I'm on an Indian walk with Big Owl, whose name is Dave McSorley. He's from Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. And I just took notes as we were walking along. He was just talking and we were walking, and I was just trying to take some notes as we were walking along. I did make a little sketch here of a sweet fern. This is a native shrub that they made tea out of. Here I'm on a hike again up at Hawk Mountain, and the witch hazel was in bloom. This was October, and I did a little branch and colored pencil of the flowers of the witch hazel. Some more notes here. I'm down at Virginia Beach. This was in October. Taking a couple of notes there. I didn't really draw anything there. Here we're at a wildlife refuge in Back Bay, and we ran into a cottonmouth water moccasin that was on the path. And just some more notes of things that I found on the beach at Sandbridge. I went to the Philly Museum of Art in March of '08. Oh, so I guess I used this for a couple of years. And this is my watercolor not watercolor, just colored pencil sketch of Frida Kahlo. It was her exhibit at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Here I'm at the Ned Smith Center for Nature and Art, and it was very cold. It was December 1st. One of the things you have to do is write down the date and where you are, because in your mind you think, oh, I'll remember that, I won't forget, but believe me, you do forget. So I made some notes about what I heard, some birds. It was icy cold, puddles on the path, and it was very, very cold, and we're standing next to the creek, and I was trying to sketch, but my hands were really cold. This is a river birch. I wouldn't have known that unless I wrote it down there. So we went back and sat in the car. I was with my friend Sheila, and I sketched this red twig dogwood that was growing along the parking lot, and this is again in colored pencil. This is just some notes from a book that I was reading. And here I'm on a hike at Nolde Forest Environmental Education Center. And we're walking with a group or down the trail. Sometimes it's hard to stop and sketch when you're with a group, so you have to be very, very quick. So I just very quickly sketched some pine trees that were along the trail. And I was doing a holly leaf over here, some wild grapes. And just showing here the trail with the pine trees growing along it. And this was a rough steel pump by the outhouse. This is at Nolde Forest, and this is some rocks by a stream. Some more notes. I was at a Pennsylvania Association for Environmental Educators, and our guest speaker was Joseph Cornell, excuse me. And he's written many famous books. One of them is Sharing Nature with Children, and another one is Sharing the Joy of Nature, Nature Activities for All Ages. I recommend these books if you do any nature activities with any age groups. They're very, very good. And then he sent us all out to find our own little space. I took some shelter actually under a cabin. I was sitting on a rock, and I was just drawing what was at my feet, which were some leaves that had fallen and a rock. It had a little rust stain. I made a little note here. This is still at the conference. This is a mural, I believe, that was on the wall. And then they actually had the Zany Umbrella Circus came, and they walked on stilts, and they did the thing where they twirl around on the ribbons that were hanging from the ceiling. This is at the Philadelphia Flower Show, March 6, 2008. The theme was Jazz It Up. I did a quick little colored pencil sketch. This is a sketch of a tree and actually a bridge that goes over the Topolhocken Creek in Berks County, Pennsylvania. I guess I didn't finish that one. I took a tree walk with Chris Sachi. We were up at Hawk Mountain. I saw some cowslip. Drew a little colored pencil sketch there, made some notes. In the native plant garden in April of 2008. Just making a note of what I saw. Some horsetail over here. This is at a Pennsylvania Institute for Conservation Education workshop. Drawing the parts of a log. And this was a tree that we saw on a hike. It had this giant gall, G-A-L-L, gall. It was about 36 inches at least across, and it looked like the tree had swallowed a rock. This is just me sketching some rocks with some moss on them. Just using a bit of quick colored pencil and looks like a black ink pen. Some wildflowers I saw at French Creek State Park, Pennsylvania. Again, French Creek State Park. Here I did a little blind contour of some mums. Sensitive fern, we saw this on the side of a trail. Hiking to the lake, there's a tulip tree, some flowers. I was staying in a cabin at French Creek. This was during the Don Hartman Conservation Leadership School for high school students, and the cabin that I stayed in had a flying squirrel that came out at night and went up and down the screen on the window all night long. Here are some mushrooms that we saw at the Nolde Environmental Center. Some notes. This was at Harold Lebo's house. He has a beautiful, beautiful garden with all kinds of nectar and host plants for butterflies. And here I'm just writing the different butterflies and what their host plants are. And more of the same. Some things that we saw along the way. This was Eastern Tiger Swallowtail that he had caught ahead of time to show us, and then he let him go. This is September 21st. We're at the Lion's Fiddle Festival in Berks County. And this was my attempt at drawing people with quick colored pencil and black ink. This gentleman was playing the spoons on his knee. Young lady with a guitar. A bearded gentleman playing guitar that had a beautiful sunburst pattern on it. This is, I actually did some watercolor in this book with the thin pages. Didn't go through too badly. And I was doing a sketch from a painting that my grandmother had done years ago, and it was hanging at my sister Debbie's house. And I was just trying to reproduce some of the still life that was on the painting. Columbus Day weekend, October 11th, 2008. It was Indian summer. Trying to capture a feeling of some of the colors. I noticed that the colors are getting much more vivid, really using that color pencil to lay some color down on the page. Where back at the beginning when I first started, they were just very lightly done. It was almost like I was afraid to put some color down on the page. See how pale that tree is? This is driving to Connecticut along the Merritt Parkway, doing a colored pencil and ink sketch of the trees in October. Phragmites growing alongside the road, some staghorn sumac. There was freezing rain, slushy accidents. This was December 24th on I-80, which we had to make a detour because Route 78 was closed, and we were driving to Connecticut for the holiday. My friend Sheila Cohen did a Nature Journal workshop, which I attended at the Lidditz Library. This is March 14th, 2009. We practiced our blind contours. This was a lavender branch. This is a page from a naturalist sketchbook, Seasons of the Year. Let's see, book, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden was a book that we looked at during this workshop. We went outside of the library to do a few quick sketches. There was a crocus coming up. I sketched some spring buds that were swelling, the trunk of a tree, and a young girl who was sitting on a bench sketching. We practiced some cross hatching. This is a turnip. Copied this picture from Edith Holden's book. Again, traveling in the car along the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut and doing a quick sketch of the skunk cabbage growing. Let's see, practicing shading, drawing some eggs. Here I'm using marker to do some flowers and leaves and a frog. This is a frog rain gauge, that's cute. Some notes and some more notes with a little tiny sketch. And some more notes.